So Donald Trump has been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. And it's interesting that he has been vying for it for a long time, actually. This is just from the 10th of January this year, 2020. And this is an article from the BBC saying that Donald Trump was complaining that he didn't win it in 2019. So the Nobel Peace Prize has been, as we know, given away to morons and idiots for a long time. In fact, in 2009, if you recall, they gave it to Barack Obama for literally just being black. I mean, essentially, they said, well, he was, he was the guy that was black and was elected. And so, of course, we would just give that to him. Of course. Look at him being black and the president. Of course. Nobel Peace Prize for him. Right here. Weeks into being president, let's give him the thing. So, okay. You think that that's just me being a little bit of a harsh critic? Fine. Right now is when they're saying the Nobel Prize Committee. Okay, this says the Nobel Prize Committee's credibility is on the line. And this is from Rick Grenell. He is an opinion contributor to The Hill, apparently. And I trust Rick. So I'm going to be very interested to see what he has to say. He says, when Norwegian parliamentarian Christian Tybring-Gjedde nominated President Trump, I think that's how you pronounce his name. I'm sorry, Rick, if that's not, you can help me. Nominated President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize on Wednesday, the president's critics went into shock and awe and what is it? What do you call it? A lather. They were foaming to try to attack Trump because how dare he get the Peace Prize? That's the fake award we gave our guy, as I just told you. The criticism, of course, did not respond to Tybring-Gjedde's specific citation of Trump's role in brokering a landmark normalization deal between Israel and the United Arab Emirates, the Kashmir border dispute between India and Pakistan, nor the conflict between, I think is what it should say, the North and South Korean peninsula. So Trump's critics instead attack the credibility of the person that is promoting him, who serves as chairman of the Norwegian delegation to NATO, Parliamentary Assembly, and has expressed disbelief that Trump could possibly share the same prize as his predecessor, whose greatest achievement was an agreement that destabilized the entire Middle East. Trump clearly earned his nomination for the Nobel Peace Prize. So Rick is obviously on the side of good here, clearly stating Trump earned his nomination. But if his critics really want to discredit his chances of winning it, they should engage with his actual record. And then we'll go into the actual record. Before I read on, if you don't mind, like the video, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, hit the little notification bell, and then if you don't mind, share the video or open a new tab and just drop a link to, I don't know, a Pottery Barn or a JCPenney just like a little comment section somewhere. Send it to somebody. Put it in a letter. Send it to your mailman. A link, that is, to the channel so that we can grow. This says, Trump is the first president in almost 4 decades to not start a new war. We'll read that again because it needs the emphasis. Trump is the first president in almost 40 years to not start a new war. In addition to avoiding armed conflict, he has made moves to reduce troop levels in conflict zones such as Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria. This is not mere pacifism or conflict avoidance. And at the same time that Trump has sought to keep Americans out of harm's way and America out of problems it has no business meddling in, he has presided over an enormous buildup of Americans' military capabilities and reinvigoration of the U.S. armed forces. By ending the false dichotomy between military strength and non-aggression, Trump has demonstrated that countries can shore up their national defense and secure their strategic interests, by means of military restraint rather than a commitment to reductions in violence. So don't send everyone in your military to try to stop all the violence. Pull everyone back so that there doesn't need to be a ton of violence, is now what they're suggesting. Maybe. As for specific regions of the world, Trump not only brokered the first normalization agreement between Israel and the Arab state in a quarter century, he also presided over a vast improvement in relations in coordination between Israel and other major Sunni Arab states. This is in large part because of his day one commitment to opposing the spread of Iranian terror throughout the Middle East, and the coordination of the U.S.-Israeli Sunni policy in the region to stop both radical Sunni actors such as ISIS and revolutionary Shia actors such as Hezbollah and Hamas. The government in Tehran has become the region's best hope of stabilization in decades. So all of this is thanks to Trump. And if you don't know that, read this article for yourself. This is at The Hill from Rick Grenell today at about 11:15 a.m. This says the role Trump saw for the U.S. in all that he has been centered on in economic sanctions, weapons sales, and diplomatic initiatives, not military force. He's doing this all by intel. He's doing it all by the book if you were going to do it without using force, which is exactly what we're doing. Farther east, President Trump, has applied similar nonviolent principles. China is the biggest threat to American national and strategic interests since the Cold War, albeit I think it is the reason for the Cold War, now that we're just seeing that out in the open. Russia was never really the threat. At least it hasn't been since the 90s, and yet we still say Russia, Russia, Russia. And it's all a farce. While Trump has countered nearly every act of Chinese competition, Rick says, and aggression, he has done so peacefully. So the tariffs of billions of dollars a month, I suppose, are also peaceful. Through the use of tariffs, there you go, trade agreements, the threats of sanctions, and the nonviolent military exercises with Indo-Pacific partners such as Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Australia, Trump has done everything possible to resolve the most explosive elements of the U.S.-China rivalry without armed conflict. I'll say that again. Trump has avoided armed conflict with China despite their best efforts. They're taunting and poking the bear, and they just don't know what they're going to get. This says South Korean President Moon Jae-in declared in 2018, quote, "We should win Trump the Nobel Peace Prize," after he went over and talked to Kim Jong-un. President Barack Obama, interesting. Guys, they are going to talk about President Barack Obama, was awarded this prize in 2009. He had been in office less than 10 months. 2 presidential terms later, he'd backed a war of regime change in Libya, a normalization agreement with a terror regime in Iran. By the way, what this doesn't say is he opened slave markets. Didn't know that? You should look into it. In Syria and in Libya, which likely encouraged military takeovers by the Kremlin in Crimea and by Beijing in South China Sea. So we enabled the baddies to be taking over their lands. Interesting. I wonder if that's what's happened in the past. We've not earned it by 2009, Obama hadn't. But he had squandered any claim to it after 6 years in office. So he didn't earn it when he got it. He had 8 years to try to make up for that. Didn't. Enabled terrorists. Worse. And this says, for Trump, the Nobel Committee was right to wait until he'd actually had a record of governance and demonstrated a real commitment to peace before considering him for the prize. Now, the committee has the opportunity to regain the credibility that it lost in 2009. Boom. Right there. That's it. That's the important part. It has lost its credibility. Good call, Rick. This sucked me in because I clicked this. This was clickbaity. I read this thinking, oh my goodness, now they're going to write that the credibility of the prize is on the line? And they're saying, yeah, it has been for literally 11 years when they gave it to the wrong guy in 2009. What a burn. Love it. Rick Grenell, you're a senior fellow. Wonderful. Also LGBTQ. Not that LGBT is necessarily a bad thing. So long as I don't see a P in there, we're fine. But Rick, love you, buddy. All right, that's it. Like the video, share it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell so that you don't miss a video that's posted. And then do everything else that you can do if you leave a comment below and let me know how you think of this, because I do want to know. But do everything else that you can do to keep America afloat.